Welcome to the GC BizCast, a collaboration of J. Whitney Bunting College of Business and Technology and the Department of Communication at Georgia College and State University. Here we discuss important topics with today's business leaders and educators. We produce weekly podcasts from our beautiful campus in Milledgeville, Georgia. We're excited that you've joined us. Our conversations should inform you and entertain you. The views expressed are the views of the individuals on the program and do not represent the views of Georgia College and State University. So, let's get started.
Welcome back to the Business Podcast. My name is Sruti. I'm a senior marketing major.
And my name is Aaliyah Turman. I'm a junior in management and information systems major.
And today we have a really special guest. We're so excited to introduce you to Grant.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. My name is Grant. I am the CEO and co-founder of a startup called Gamma, and we're trying to reimagine how people present and share their ideas and trying to take a modern take on PowerPoint and slides.
Would you mind sharing a little bit about just generative AI in general and how it's kind of transformed the business landscape? It's really taken everything over by storm. So in terms of presentations and I guess like document creation in general.
Yeah, honestly, it's moving very fast. And I think over the past couple of years, there's been a lot of advancements that's helped technology, really software makers be able to take advantage of the underlying technology in a way that wasn't quite possible a few years ago. And so platforms like ours that are really helping, end users, whether it's students, teachers, business professionals, create content where in the past, it would take a lot of effort to format, design. The vast majority of us aren't designers or have the background of creating beautiful content. Doesn't come naturally to us, and so doing so is a very manual process. Generative AI has come in and really helped kind of make it much simpler, kind of unlock people's creativity, streamline the entire process, and do so in a way that feels just easy for most people to pick up right away.
In your experience as CEO, how has leadership had to adapt to the rapid advancements in generative AI? And are there like any specific strategies that you've implemented into Gamma to keep up with these advancements?
Yeah, I think kind of the biggest change is really just trying to accelerate the sort of rate of learning that an organization kind of pick up new skills in general. So AI is advancing really quickly on many different fronts. So it's kind of in your best interest as a team to give yourself the opportunity to kind of play around with all the different tools out there, whatever's coming out, have the opportunity to kind of really test those tools in your own workflow, share what you're learning with your colleagues in a way that maybe isn't, as prominent in organizations today where a lot of it is kind of individual learning or individual training, but really being more open, I think, has been helpful. So as you're playing around with new tools, sharing that with the rest of the team on a frequent basis has really been helpful.
There was another interview you did and you were talking about how people shouldn't go after technology first. They should go after a problem first. Can you tell us a little bit about just like how you started thinking about the problem and like what was your mindset around all of that?
Yeah, definitely. Anytime there's a sort of technology shift or something exciting that comes up, the temptation is always for founders or startups that want to just use that and then apply it to almost anything and just try things and hope that it works out. We've been thinking about the problem of presentations and making it easier for a long time. So well before sort of this recent AI wave, we had been thinking deeply about, people not having the capabilities to create beautiful content, not being able to express themselves the way we want to, limited by the tools that exist today. And so being able to deeply understand kind of the limitations allowed us to really then think about of all the different technologies we could apply, how could we simplify things for the end user? And we're fortunate that, AI definitely has played a role in kind of the creation flow within Gamma, but that's not the only thing. We've also been working hard to introduce new building blocks, new primitives in the tool itself that are different than traditional slideware or, PowerPoint. And so I think it's the marriage of the building blocks and AI that's been kind of unique in our approach. And I think if it was just the AI piece alone, I think we would have fallen short because that in itself is not enough.
So you guys started your company before all of this sort of started to happen. What was that process like?
Yeah, definitely. So we started about 3 years ago, and in the beginning, it was really just trying to understand the existing landscape. So what are the tools people use today? Obviously, PowerPoint, Google Slides, we're all familiar with it. And spending a lot of time with our users to understand, or not even our users at the time, but really just people broadly that are spending a lot of time in PowerPoint, where do they run into issues? If you're like a power user of slides, you're probably not the type of person that's going to want to switch, off PowerPoint anytime soon. But for others where, creating slides is frustrating or time consuming or difficult, we spend a lot of time with those users to understand where are they getting stuck. Obviously, they have great ideas. They have a need to present information, but they're getting stuck in the creation flow. And so we started kind of attacking a lot of the different pain points around, time spent formatting or inability to kind of overcome the cold start problem of designing something that looked good. And so that was the sort of foundation. The first 1.5, 2 years were really just about creating building blocks that were a little bit easier to use that could kind of be beautiful by default. And then year kind of 2 and beyond has been about, okay, now that we have the building blocks in place, how do we use AI to help a user kind of assemble some of those building blocks really quickly? So instead of getting kind of a scattered set of Legos on the ground, we give you kind of, piece together something that's already kind of functional. It's already put into place into helping you understand how Gamma even works. And then using that as a starting point. So it's been kind of phase 1, creating the building blocks. Phase 2 has really been about reimagining the creation flow with AI at the core of it.
Okay, so we've been kind of talking about how Gamma App has been a significant player with integrating AI into presentations and simplifying it for the end user with web and document design. So what challenges do you think you faced in this journey, and how do you think you overcame them if you have?
Yeah, I think I mean one of the biggest challenges still is something we will continue to face is that um, again the underlying technology is moving so fast. So there's advancements across the board and how AI can help with things like creating content. And as you're building, because like the underlying sort of technology is evolving and changing, you're constantly forced to say, is what we're building still the right sort of collection or combination of all those things, or do we need to rethink kind of how we've set up things ourselves? And if something is new and better comes along, how do we replace what we might have already in place in an elegant way or in a way that doesn't disrupt how people are already using Gamma in the first place? So I think that'll continue to be a challenge. And then as we think about just prioritizing our own roadmap, like we have to think about what are the biggest opportunities for us to provide value to our users? And that's not always going to be obvious. Sometimes you're trying to kind of anticipate that and really bet maybe months or maybe even years ahead in terms of how you're developing your product. And again, because things are moving so fast, it's not always obvious you're making the right bet today when 6 months from now, everything changes again.
How do you, I guess, navigate that? Like, how do you know when it's time to jump on a trend and it's time to be like, okay, I'm gonna let that
Well,
pass?
we're constantly testing. So I think one thing is we have like a community of power users that provides very active feedback to us. And so as we are kind of, if we see something new come up and we see an opportunity to improve the current experience, we're oftentimes creating either prototypes of it or concepts that involve kind of the new underlying tooling. And then we'll share that like very, very early prototype with some of our users and say, hey, is this actually better or worse? Or does this get you excited? And if we start feeling like there's actually strong conviction where we're starting to build conviction that the alternative is better, then we start rolling it out to more and more users, getting more feedback, iterating on it until we get to the point where it's very clear, hey, it's actually time to switch over. We'll figure out what the right transition plan is and now start integrating the new offering or the new feature, the new launch into to the overall user base.
I remember you saying something about that in a different interview. You were talking about how like you and your partner like try to do your best to make a product for the user. And I think that's really admirable. I think a lot of times, um, I don't know, like you kind of make it like there's a disconnect between it, but you are genuinely, you're trying to make a good product for the people using it. So I think that's awesome. As someone who's like at the forefront of, I guess, AI and innovation, what do you envision generative AI, I guess, continuing to reshape the way business operate over the next decade, I guess?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just going to be a massive unlock in terms of productivity and efficiency in general. And I think it will allow, humans to do what they're great at, which is really focus on, you know, creative problem solving, thinking longer term, really taking different inputs and crafting a strategy, or again, thinking about like how can you take all the tools you have in place and just improve whatever it is you're doing, whether it's like delivering something to a client or customer or building new products. And I think that's where AI is going to continue to help with all of that. I think there's still so much manual effort today in terms of our daily work and a lot of the tactical things that need to get done, where I have a high level of confidence that AI is going to help automate and streamline a lot of that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are kind of scared of AI. Like when you mention it, it can be kind of a trigger word. And so I think it's good that people kind of push that AI is not here to like compete with us, is here to help us and make everything better. So I think that's a good point to bring up. And finally, our listeners are big fans of Gamma. Can you give us like a sneak peek of into any upcoming features or developments that users can look forward to?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'll touch on your last point really quickly first, which is like, the fear around AI and maybe some of the doubt around how it fits into people's lives. I think like the analogy that I often bring up is, the invention of like a calculator, or even like more recently, like Excel, being able to do calculations for you where, it's not replacing the human by any means, but it's just making the human's life much easier to do calculations. If you have a calculator, is much different than if you don't. And you can do it much faster. You can do things that are just hard to calculate manually by hand. And so AI is in many ways the same thing, where it can be a true extension of your own capabilities and allow you to free up time to do things that hopefully you enjoy spending time doing. And so for Gamma, our longer term vision is really just to make content creation feel effortless in general. So all the things where today trying to get ideas from your head into a piece of paper or a blank slate in terms of like a document or a presentation or a website, how can we make that feel just as simple as possible? So there's going to be much more AI to come. There's going to be much more sort of formats we're going to be able to support. So not necessarily just presentations, but when it comes to being able to create things that can be shared like a website or simple web pages, or being able to create things that are more interactive, or even being able to support much more multimedia, so video, voice, all that are things that are going to be folded into the product, and I think will just give people the feeling that they have content superpowers, that they can really create things that a few years ago just weren't possible.
I love the way that you talk about AI. I think, I don't know, I guess as a student, it was always something that like you weren't really sure how to partner with because, I think partner and using it to do things can be two different things. But I think you do a good job of talking about how it's not something that's supposed to hinder us, but it's something that can propel us even further. So that's really exciting. Well, that's all we have for you today. Thank you so much for being on the podcast, and we hope you have a great rest of your day.
Great. Yeah. Thanks so much for having me.